The sun was folding into the skyline, its warm fingers brushing the streets of Oakland in molten gold. Isaiah Wells was heading home. Another exhausting day behind a mahogany desk, another corporate battle fought with smiles and spreadsheets. His car whispered down the road, they see humming a lullaby, his thoughts already drifting to dinner, to peace, to the comfort of silence. But peace shattered, when the sirens screamed behind him, blue and red lights splashing against the glass, like warning shots in a still lake. Isaiah's grip tightened on the steering wheel. He pulled over, calm, but not naive. He'd done this before. Out stepped Officer Colin Hart, early 40s, close-cropped hair, and the kind of stare that didn't just look through you, it measured what you were worth. License, registration. The command came clipped and cold. Isaiah handed them over with steady hands, but the quiet storm had already begun. Do you know why I pulled you over? I don't, officer, Isaiah said, steady, respectful. You didn't fully stop at the light, Hart replied, though the lie clung to the air like smoke. Isaiah said nothing, because he already knew. This wasn't about traffic. It never really was. You from around here? Just moved, Isaiah answered. But Officer Hart had stopped listening. He'd already decided who Isaiah was before he opened his mouth. Step out of the vehicle. Isaiah paused, his knuckles pressing into the steering wheel. May I ask why? Don't make this harder than it has to be. There it was, the threat, wrapped in velvet but heavy as iron. Isaiah stepped out, composed, tall, in a tailored suit that whispered power, in shoes that had walked through courts and conference rooms. But none of that mattered now. Turn around. Hands where I can see them. Isaiah complied, because he'd been here before. Not this street, not this badge, but this moment, where dignity becomes suspicion, and silence becomes survival. The pat-down was unnecessary, a ritual of humiliation. But Isaiah stood still, because the moment you flinch, you feed the story they're writing about you. You're clean, Hart muttered, disappointed. Of course I am, Isaiah wanted to say, but he didn't. Not yet. You seem pretty confident, Hart sneered. Isaiah looked him in the eye. It's not confidence, he said. It's clarity. I know my rights. That shook him. You some kind of lawyer? Isaiah smiled faintly. Something like that. You think you're better than me? Isaiah's voice was steady. No. I think I deserve to be treated like a man. And that was when the balance shifted. You got something to hide? No. But it seems like you do. People like you always. Hart stopped himself. Too late. People like me? Isaiah echoed, his voice soft, but the weight of history behind every word. The silence between them was deafening. I think it's time you know who I am. Hart scoffed. I don't care who you are. Isaiah reached into his pocket, slowly. I'm reaching for my badge, he said. Isaiah Wells, Director of Internal Affairs, Oakland Division. The silence was nuclear. Hart blinked at the badge, his arrogance crumbling like ash. Yes, Isaiah said. That means I investigate people like you. He took a step back, his authority shrinking, in the shadow of truth. You never once considered that I might know more than you, that I might have the power to hold you accountable. Isaiah's voice was razor-sharp now. And why? He let the question hang. Because I didn't look like the kind of man you think deserves respect. Here's what happens next, Isaiah said. You're going to give me back my license, and you're going to think hard about how you wear that badge moving forward. Hart fumbled, returned the papers, speechless. Isaiah paused before getting back in the car. He looked over his shoulder, his voice a quiet thunder. The badge doesn't make you better, Officer Hart. It makes you responsible. He drove home in silence, but his mind wasn't still. Not because this moment was rare, but because it wasn't. It happened all the time, but this time he could do something about it. The next morning, in a high-rise office with walls lined in records, Isaiah opened a file.
Bradley Hart.
and a history that didn't surprise him. Complaints, warnings, all brushed aside. But not anymore. Later, Isaiah sat across from Chief Morales, an old guard, and he said what needed to be said. This isn't about one officer. It's about what we tolerate. We've handled these things quietly, Morales admitted. And that, Isaiah said, is exactly the problem. It's time to be loud. And so began the change. Isaiah met with community leaders. He heard their pain. He turned the pain into policy. Heart was suspended. But Isaiah knew the win wasn't punishment. It was prevention. Months later, he stood before a crowded hall. Officers, citizens, leaders. Justice, he said, isn't just about locking people up. It's about looking in the mirror and asking if we're living up to the badge we wear. And if we're not, we don't deserve it. The applause followed him out. But Isaiah didn't need it, because change was never about noise. It was about courage, the quiet kind that stands tall, on the side of the road, and says, "Not this time."